Hello and welcome to the Factor Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Brent. I'm here with my co-host, John, and welcome to episode 2. So first off, we've got a couple little housekeeping things. Twitter accounts are at BrentYoung23 and at BucksFanJohn. That's Jon at the end. Email address for the podcast is factorfantasypod, that's pod at gmail.com. The website where you can check out our rankings is youngbw.github.io. And the pod is actually available on SoundCloud, YouTube, and you can actually access it through my Twitter. I'll post the episodes on there as well. So first off, we're going to get to some news. Just go a little bit through the news for the week, starting with the Arian Foster signing to the Dolphins. John, what do you think about that? Like, how does that affect your perception of not only Arian Foster, but maybe Jay Ajayi as well?
Yeah. Dude, I'm a huge fan of Arian Foster. I've had him in years past. Like, the dude's a beast. You look at his average or just the all-purpose yards he can pick up and the big runs he could break. Huge fan of him. I think it's cool, like on a personal level, like he's getting this chance with Miami. He's not getting tons of money, but he's getting a pretty good deal. There's incentives and bonuses up there. He can get up to $3.5 million. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for Miami, good for Arian Foster. And I also think it could be good for fantasy players, fantasy owners. I'll talk about it. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I think the signing is actually just best for the Dolphins. Like in real life, just like they've got like a good 1-2 punch now, whereas before they lacked a little bit of depth.
For sure.
And honestly, I think what this does most for fantasy is hurt Jay Ajayi's value. I actually moved him down a few spots in my rankings. And I think we'll have to kind of watch them and see how much they utilize Foster. If it's really going to be like a 1-2, maybe, or maybe they'll just keep him on for like veteran insurance. Who knows?
Yeah, I feel like he's going to be the starter, and just with their offense, I think they're going to run that 1-2. It's going to be like, in the past the Panthers have done or Denver has done. It's going to be that kind of setup is the vibe I'm getting from it.
But you think Foster's going to be the starter and Jay Ajayi is going to play second fiddle?
Right, yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe for the first part of the season, and then see where that goes. See how Foster, see if he, doesn't get banged up. But I think Foster's coming out with something to prove. He's proven that he has the talent, and the guy's a beast. He's strong. He's fast. He's quick. So,
yeah, if he shows he's got some juice left, it might be prudent of them to really just milk everything they can out of Foster and keep Jay Ajayi in more of a supplemental role as long as they can, because he does have that degenerative knee issue.
Right.
So that may prolong his NFL career for him. So moving on, we've got Tom Brady appeals process is finally done. So he's decided not to go to the Supreme Court, which I would have found ridiculous anyways.
Yeah, totally.
So after almost I think it's a little over 500 days since this was actually became a thing, Deflategate. He's decided that he's just going to accept the 4 games. So what round would you actually be comfortable in taking Tom Brady?
So I think Tom Brady obviously is still really valuable. It's tough to say what round. I know the games he's missing. Have you happened to look up what teams that he'll be missing, what games he'll be missing?
He starts with the Cardinals, and then it's got the Bills and the
Texans,
Dolphins,
right?
I believe.
Yeah,
Texans.
Yeah, so those games. Who knows? I mean,
and
the
3
Cardinals,
of those are at home, actually.
Yeah,
Cardinals are their only away game.
Right. I think Cardinals is going to be the hard game, especially without Tom. And then, so after those 4 games, Tom jumps in against the Browns. I don't want to say it too early. I mean, the Browns could give him some trouble, but then he runs into the Bengals, Steelers, Bills, Seahawks, 49ers, Jets, and Rams. So he doesn't have a cakewalk of a schedule if you're talking about defenses.
Right. So right now he's going at around the 49th overall pick. So you're looking at 10, 20, 30, 40, about the end of the 5th round. Which is a little rich for my blood. So last year in our draft, yes, which tends to have, pretty QB heavy at the beginning, I took him and I want to say was it Matt Stafford, just right kind of.
Yeah,
I think I
did.
took Tom Brady in like the 7th round, and I took Matt Stafford around the 10th round. And that was actually when he was still suspended, so I was kind of risking a little bit there. It worked out really well for me that he turned out to have the injunction, but this year I think a similar strategy might be better. I think that ADP is going to drop a lot. I think you'll be able to get Tom Brady closer to the 9th round, and you might be able to do, if you wait that long, maybe a not Matt Stafford, but like a Carson Palmer, Tom Brady swing. Where you can have Carson for the first few games, and then you can have Tom Brady. And if he comes out playing like he did last year, you got some major value right there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the ESPN fantasy football draft kit. They have him, which I feel more comfortable with compared to the ADP. They have him at 79th
Gotcha.
overall, and I feel like that's perfect, right in there, right in round 8. Of course, Tom Brady has a little more star power than. Any other quarterback. Like, people know his name. He's solid. He's consistent. So he might go earlier than 8th round just because someone might be pretty high on Tom Brady, and I can't fault them for that. He's, I think, the best of all time. So he could go earlier. Yeah. He could go round 6, and I wouldn't really throw a fit. If he goes earlier than that, then I think you're missing out on some talent elsewhere. So
sure,
yeah.
Yeah, and you could kind of employ the strategy of, you picked him earlier, but there's still a ton of quarterbacks in those later rounds that you can have a stopgap. So if you really like Tom Brady and you want him after that 3 or 4 weeks, and you're okay with doing it with one of the quarterbacks you're going to get in like the 10th plus round, then I'd say go for it.
Yeah, you could pick up like Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton, later on, and Derek Carr, and they're all solid choices if you want to roll with Tom like that.
Right. Okay, so moving on, next item, we've got Carlos Williams suspended for 4 games. So he came into training camp a little bit overweight. Like, by a little bit, I mean maybe like 20 to 30 pounds overweight, blaming it on his wife's pregnancy and saying he just had some sympathy weight there. And then now he's got a PED suspension for 4 games. Personally, I think this actually just kicks LaShawn McCoy up a few rankings. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I know they've sent out an offer sheet to Reggie Bush.
I know they're interested.
But him or like Marcus Gillislee, there's really no true handcuff to him anymore. But I think you can pick up Carlos Williams now. It might almost be like good for fantasy owners because Carlos Williams is kind of muddying the situation, right? Whereas we can now pick up maybe Carlos in like a couple later rounds than he was going, and it bumps up McCoy's value even more for the first half of the season or so.
Yeah, I could see that. And LaShawn McCoy needs that. I stayed away from him last year. I know you did. We were like, I'm not touching that. Like, LaShawn McCoy on the Bills doesn't feel right. I don't know. It's just not going to work. He got like 100 less attempts. Well under 1,000 yards, so maybe this is like the resurgence for McCoy and fantasy owners. And fantasy owners win from this because then McCoy is going to have increased productivity, and you can pick up Carlos later. So, yeah,
right. Yeah, I think he had only. I'm looking it up right now. Last year, he had a total of 5 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 2 receiving. Honestly, I think, and he was a little banged up last year. I think we're going to see big things out of Shady. Now, I'm not talking like 2012 Eagles big. I'm talking, better than last year. So I think he's probably going to go towards the end of the 2nd round, beginning of the 3rd round. I think that's some good value for a potential flex guy if you're going running back heavy off the bat.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
Okay, and then last thing is just a couple big signings. We got Von Miller signing the biggest defensive player or non-quarterback contract, in NFL history, and Muhammad Wilkerson getting signed to that 5-year deal for the Jets. Which do you think was more important for the team? So for either team respectively, and do you think that they're a little bit? Do you think they're underpaid, overpaid, or dead on for what they do?
Von Miller is my pick for most important for the team. If you disagree, I'd really like to hear why. Because I think, to me, it's black and white. Muhammad Wilkerson's great, but Von Miller is just on another level. That being said, he got way too much money. And I can't fault the guy. If I had the opportunity to make that much money, I'd be all over it. But I think it could potentially hurt the franchise in the future when they try to, sign younger players, give younger players deals, maybe rework current deals. Like, I'm actually not too sure how Demaryius Thomas, his contract is, but that'd be interesting down the road to see what that brings up.
Yeah, they've still got to sign, Sanders and a few other important guys, and they had to let a couple guys go even this year. I'd say they're just lucky to not have a big name QB on the roster, and we'll see how they can handle that in the years to come. I imagine we'll be losing a few key guys in the next couple of years, unfortunately. Okay, so moving on to the next segment, we're actually going to jump into a mock draft. We're going to do a live mock draft, a 10-team standard draft on NFL.com. And we're just doing it with other users. I'm drafting 9th. John is drafting 4th, I believe.
Yeah.
John, what kind of strategy are you gonna hit here?
Man,
like you thinking receiver? You thinking running back first?
I'm thinking receiver and then a running back. I think where I'm picking 4th, I'll be able to do that. Pick up a good receiver here. Maybe I'm looking at it right now. I have the sound on, and that's really loud. But I'm looking at it right now, and Antonio Brown just got drafted 2nd overall. Do you see who got drafted first?
Todd Gurley. Yeah, right now we got Todd Gurley, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham.
All right, so I'm sitting here 4th. I got Julio Jones, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. This is tough. I haven't really thought of, drafting 4th. I've thought of, 1st, 2nd, and, of course, 9, 10.
Yeah, it's actually my least favorite spot to draft is the middle of the rounds because you're constantly. Yeah. I feel like I'm constantly missing out on guys. Like the first pick you get your, top 3 pick, great, and then you're gonna come back around 2 and 3. You're gonna kind of be on the edge of that swing at the in the worst case, and you'll be the swing pick in the best case. We can pick up a couple guys that are right near each other in value. But I did one draft last year where I was pick 5 out of 10, and that was just terrible. Like that was I just watched guys every round go that that had in my queue.
Like right now, I'm trying to decide between Julio Jones, Le'Veon Bell, but I'm rolling with Julio Jones. So
that's interesting. I would have gone Le'Veon Bell. I'm gonna
wait real quick. I haven't done a draft on NFL.com. I'm not sure how to actually draft them, but I put him in my queue. So I'm sure he'll just be automatically drafted.
Oh, yeah. That should, I think, change to draft once you have chosen him and it's your turn.
I usually do CBS for anyone else listening. I've also done ESPN. NFL.com is just one I'm not as familiar with.
No worries.
So you would have gone Le'Veon?
I would have gone Le'Veon, yeah. I think you got to expect him to be healthy. That's going to be the big thing, but it's just I think it's used as an argument too much these days. It's like, oh, he's injury prone. And it's like the running back position in the NFL, they're going to be injury prone. You just kind of have to hope you're not that guy that gets hit with that. And like last year, I had three of my running backs on one of my teams go down for the year. I still ended up actually winning the league, so it's not a death knell. It's not great, but I don't think you can count on that as like a thing to really downgrade guys because people are getting hurt all the time.
Well, that's where I'm at with Arian Foster. People are like, oh, don't go near him, even though he's on Miami. He's just going to get hurt. Same with everyone talking about Derrick Rose in the NBA. Injuries are going to happen. It's physical sports, running backs especially.
If I could get him as a flex, I would be more comfortable with that. I probably wouldn't be comfortable with making him a running back 2.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah. So if I can get him like maybe round 9 or later, that's where I'm kind of looking at him right now. If he looks really good in the preseason, we'll see. But right now I'm thinking round 9-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go over the first round here so far. We've got Todd Gurley, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, Julio Jones. So you see that receiver bunch towards the top. And then we've got Le'Veon Bell, and then Adrian Peterson just went.
Todd Gurley of the first queue is nuts, in my opinion.
Really? I think I would definitely go, if I was picking a running back, I would definitely have David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell over Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
Only because the Rams' O-line was not that great last year, and they are in such a tough running division, like where the defenses they're going to play, 8 teams a year, hands down, that we already know are going to be good against the run. So,
and first overall pick, Antonio Brown's there. You got to take him.
Yeah. David Johnson's the next pick.
Now on the clock.
He was my in-queue player there. I was hoping to get him to fall to me. So running back, my strategy is gonna be go running back heavy here, and see if I can pick up a couple of good guys while people are going receiver heavy. I'm looking at Lamar Miller, Devontae Freeman, Eddie Lacy, and Jamal Charles at the swing here. And like we talked about last time, I'm super high on my boy Eddie Lacy.
Yeah, you are.
So I'm gonna go Lacy.
All right.
So round one.
Okay,
Todd
Team
Gurley,
is now on the
Ezekiel
clock.
Elliott already went.
Yeah, Todd Gurley, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, Julio Jones, Le'Veon Bell, Adrian Peterson, David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott, Eddie Lacy, and Devonta Freeman are the first round, with Allen Robinson the first pick of the second round. The guy on the swing there going, Devonta Freeman, Allen Robinson. Talk about that in a second. I'm gonna stick with my strategy here because I see Jamal Charles here. And yeah, he was injured at the ACL last year. It's the opposite ACL of his first injury. But man, when that guy's on the field, it seems to not matter. Like he just seems like he balls out every year. And actually has the best for a back with as many carries as takes to qualify. He's got the best yards per carry average in the NFL history. He's got over 5 yards a carry.
Jeez.
So I'm going to go Jamal Charles. This is kind of a retro team right now. You got the household names, but that's okay.
Old school team.
Yeah. So I'll tell you right now, as we've kind of come to the middle of round two, when we swing back around round three, I got about 15 picks until I'm up. But if I can get one more guy in my top 15 running backs, I will go ahead and do that. And then on the swing, I'll take my first wide receiver. This is a strategy I've employed a lot over the years in the CBS league. Is while everyone's kind of going quarterback and receiver, I'll load up even my flex with a high caliber running back, and then I'll pick up, because wide receiver is so deep, a couple wide receivers a little later on.
All right, so I'm up on the clock right now. I do want to go running back. Like I said, I want to go get a receiver first and get a running back. I'm looking at Mark Ingram, Doug Martin, and LaShawn McCoy is the top three. They're there right now. LaShawn McCoy is tempting because of what's going on in Buffalo, but I'm not going for that. I have natural bias towards Tampa Bay. Doug Martin, he's got the talent. He's got the offensive tools to put it together, so I'm going Doug Martin.
That's who I would have gone. Him last year and his first year in the league is a really good example of what he can do when healthy, and I think the Bucs O-line only got better, so getting him at the backside of round two, that's great value. So you've got, you've got Julio Jones and Doug Martin.
Yep.
So if this were 2015, I think you're sitting nice and pretty. You've got two of the top scorers in the each position there.
Right.
I'm taking a little bit more leap of faith. I have a couple guys that are throwbacks, but have been in the top. Yeah, they've been in the top five. In the position within recent history here. So the guy that's actually Team 10 I want to talk about, he went Allen Robinson, Devonta Freeman. So he's looking at a couple guys last year that had some pretty solid years. Allen Robinson having one of the best red zone years, and having one of the best yards per catch. I think it was like up towards 20, because he just got those bombs from Bortles all year. So he's kind of in the boat of having to hope those guys maintain their level of productiveness.
Yeah.
I'm not so worried about Allen Robinson. I think the Jags offense will be, around where it was last year. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a whole lot of changes there other than adding Chris Ivory, and I don't think that really affects Allen Robinson too much. But what do you think about Devonta Freeman? Do you think he's going to regress a little bit? Do you think he's going to maintain production? What do you think?
Yeah, I think Devonta Freeman will regress a little bit. I mean, I don't think he's on the same level as like Doug Martin, Ezekiel Elliott, Jamal Charles, or Eddie Lacy, your boy.
My boy.
Devonta Freeman, he'll do better than... Oh, actually, I don't know. Now with LaShawn McCoy, I'd put Devonta Freeman and LaShawn McCoy about the same. Right now I'm on the clock. Just the automated like top three that are up there: Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, LaShawn McCoy. There's also Aaron Rodgers there. I'm pretty sure if I let Aaron Rodgers go past me now, he won't be there on the swing when it comes back. I'm never comfortable taking a quarterback this early. I don't like drafting fourth. That's why I did it. But I do have a lot of faith in Alshon Jeffrey this year. I think Alshon Jeffrey's going to step up, get a lot of points, and so I'm having this internal debate right now. Green Bay has a super easy schedule. Fourth round bye here. Looking at the bye for Doug Martin, week 6. Julio Jones, week 11. You know what? I'm drafting fourth. I'm usually not comfortable drafting here. Let's take a leap of faith. Let's go Aaron Rodgers this early.
That's not bad. That's round 3 to get a quarterback that's, barring some crazy injury or something, going to be a top 3 quarterback at the worst. I think that's a decent spot for him.
Yeah.
So to recap round 2, we've got Allen Robinson, Jamal Charles, to me, AJ Green, Rob Gronkowski, DeAndre Hopkins, Lamar Miller, Doug Martin to John, and then Des Bryant, Jordy Nelson, and Cam Newton. Cam Newton at the end of round 2, that's pretty solid. To start off round 3, we've got Mark Ingram, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Aaron Rodgers, and Brandon Marshall. So I'd say nothing too surprising so far. Anybody that jumps out to you as maybe being a little too overvalued here?
Just that Todd Gurley first pick.
Gotcha.
Other than that, like this round, nothing else the whole draft has surprised me yet.
Sure. If anything, I'm surprised by the value. Especially with those quarterbacks. Normally, you see people aren't able to resist getting at least. You see one guy at least taking a quarterback in the first round, but to get Cam at the end of round 2, that's some great value. That guy's team. Yeah, that's actually the same guy that took Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley, Mark Ingram, and Cam Newton.
Your team is now on the clock.
That's a pretty solid core there.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So we had, after you took Aaron Rodgers, we see Brandon Marshall, Demaryius Thomas, Alshon Jeffrey, and LaShawn McCoy go off the board. And I just kind of lucked out because I wanted him so bad. My boy, C.J. Anderson. I'm going to go ahead and snag him up. So now I've got Eddie Lacy, Jamal Charles, and C.J. Anderson as my 3 running backs. That's including
Your team
my flex.
is now on the clock.
And then we've got Matt Forte and Doug Baldwin. Now that's a little early for me on the Doug Baldwin train.
Yeah, I'm not cool with that.
Now, first pick around 4, excuse me. So receivers now. I'm looking at receivers. I have the option of going to Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, Sammy Watkins, Jarvis Landry.
That's crazy. Those are all those receivers you just said I would take over Doug Baldwin.
Yeah, I mean, even further down, we've got Randall Cobb, T.Y. Hilton, Michael Floyd, like a bunch of people I'm pretty high on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Amari Cooper just because I believe in him and Derek's connection.
I want him to fall to me. Don't do it.
It's too late.
He was in my queue.
I was really debating between him, Cooks, and Watkins. I think Watkins could be the best out of the 3 and actually really break into the top 10 if he remains healthy, but he's already got the issue with, I think it's an ankle. So we'll see how he does coming into the preseason. But when they actually started throwing him the ball last year, he was starting to take off quite a bit.
Yeah. Let's see if he goes right here. Oh, no. Thomas Rawls, 35th overall, round 4.
That's also a little rich for my blood. I actually moved him down in my rankings quite a bit today. Mainly due because his injury wasn't just an ankle sprain. It's there's ligament damage.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Really no timetable. It's very hazy. So I'm not really comfortable taking him in the middle of round 4 where he just went.
I don't know, man. We must be drafting with people from Seattle.
Yeah, it's there is a slight homerism that goes on with the Seattle fans. I've seen Russell Wilson go round 1 last year. I think actually 2 of my leagues he went round 1. You see Seattle defense go in like round 6. You see Hausha getting picked earlier than any kicker should ever be picked, which is round 15 for those who are new. You do not choose a kicker before at the very earliest round 14. I'm a firm believer in you can either go kicker or defense there, and if you've got a guy you like if you see Gostkowski, if you're at the beginning of round 14, you want Gostkowski. He's really the one guy that's been super consistent. So then we just saw Jordan Reed go.
That
I
was
believe
early.
the second tight end off the board.
Yep.
Yeah, round 4. Now I think that's going to be the price tag for him, which I agree is way too early. Which is why I'll never draft him.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be super high on him, but last year was the first year he was even healthy.
Right.
And I'm not sure what you think, but I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be nearly as good this coming year as he was last year.
I agree. I think that's just way too early for Jordan Reed. They must have just been looking, I don't know, man, looking at too many rankings, seeing he's the second best tight end, and the first best already got taken, so they panicked. I have no idea. Right here, I'm debating between Sammy Watkins and Jarvis Landry. In last week's episode, you heard me talk up Jarvis Landry a bunch.
Yep, you convinced me to move him up a couple of my rankings, actually.
I saw that. You moved him up too, I believe. You know what? Jarvis Landry's going to get the looks. Sammy Watkins might get the touchdowns. By week 8, I'm going to roll with Jarvis Landry. Like I said last week, he's consistent. I know what I'm getting in terms of targets and receptions. Touchdowns, sure, that's a question mark. He's a big receiver. He's talented. He has potential to get more touchdowns. He got 4 last year. He's not going to get that few this year. I'm cool.
I think we'll see Devontae Parker stretch the field a bit, and I think we'll see a lot more from Jarvis Landry because of that, with yards after catch and touchdowns. Maybe 1 or 2 more touchdowns. I might cap him around 7.
Seven's fair. I could see 7, maybe 8, but yeah, 7 is fair.
Sure. Okay, so recap round. The end of round 3 went C.J. Anderson to me, Matt Forte, and then round 4 was round 3 was Doug Baldwin Cooper to me, Carlos Hyde, Brandon Cooks, Thomas Rawls, Jordan Reed, Jarvis Landry to John, Ryan Matthews, Sammy Watkins, and Julian Edelman to finish out round 4.
Wow.
So I think that's some good value on a receiver right there. I'm kind of liking my strategy right now because we've still got Cobb, we got Decker, Hilton, Michael Floyd. Honestly, if I can get like a T.Y. Hilton and a Michael Floyd or something like that on the next turn, I'm feeling pretty good. Even after that, we've got Kelvin Benjamin still way down there. I'm pretty high on him this year. I think he's going to come back and have a great year. Yeah. Receivers super deep. So my team so far, we're looking at Eddie Lacy, Jamal Charles, Amari Cooper, and C.J. Anderson as my flex. And John, your team is Doug Martin, Julio Jones, Jarvis Landry, and Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Not bad. Not bad. The gentleman who took Jordan Reed, his team so far is shaping up as Le'Veon Bell, Lamar Miller, Brandon Marshall, and Jordan Reed. So he's got some blue chip guys there. I'd be interested to see how that Jordan Reed affects his 5th and 6th round picks, because I think that's where you miss out when you take the tight end that early.
Totally.
Is you've missed your 4th round guy, and now you're going to try and make up some ground, and I think we'll see his wide receiver 2 and his quarterback or flex kind of take a hit. Which is really the same thing you see with the people that go like Rob Gronkowski round 1 or 2. Which is why I'm not really a huge fan of that strategy, but we did see a couple years. You tend to see those people in the playoffs, but I can't remember anybody actually winning with that strategy in a while, other than Darren last 2 years ago.
Yeah.
In our CBS league.
So I'm on the clock right now. I have someone in my queue. Apparently, myself and the NFL fantasy football team don't agree on where this guy should be drafted.
Okay.
I'm looking at Latavius Murray. So I need a running back, obviously. I've got 2 solid receivers I'm comfortable with. I got Doug Martin, Aaron Rodgers. I want to put another, pretty good approaching top tier running back, and I'm just not comfortable calling Danny Woodhead or Matt Jones, and then especially with Miami, I'm not touching either of those backs this early, and so I don't know. If you're looking at the running backs right now, I don't see anyone that I would put above Latavius Murray. That's who I'm taking.
Yep, I would agree with that. I think he's going to have the workload.
Mm-hmm.
He's decent year last year.
He'll get receptions too. He'll get some receiving yards.
Yep, receptions. I think that's a good pick. Middle around 5, and that's your RB2.
Yeah. So I got Doug Martin, Latavius Murray. Solid.
Yeah. And you've even got the QB1 already also, so I think that's awesome value. Now, who I'm looking at is deeper down the RB list here. If I can go the swing here and avoid running back, maybe do a wide receiver, and if we've got a good QBs, we're looking at Russell Wilson, Roethlisberger, Palmer, Breeze, Brady, Luck. Andrew Luck is still way down there. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, they have him pretty low.
Yeah, so I might go receiver here and then another receiver and see if I can't go quarterback, running back on my next turn.
So I noticed on our website, I have Roethlisberger above Luck. You have Luck above Roethlisberger. You still comfortable with that? If they're both there right now. If they're both there when it hits you, are you taking Luck over Ben?
Yes. Reason being,
your team is now on the clock.
If Ben had Martavis Bryant, I'd be more apt to take Ben. Okay. Now I'm probably a little higher on Sammy Coates than a lot of people. I want to see what he does in the preseason, but I think he's got the raw talent to be Martavis Bryant-esque. Not to mention their addition of Ladarius Green at the tight end position, much more athletic than Heath Miller ever was. Although that kind of constitutes a change to how they run their offense a little bit. But I think Luck is a little bit more mobile. I think we'll see some rushing yards and even a rushing touchdown or two out of him.
Oh, easily. Yeah, I'd say 2 for sure.
And I'd say at least a on par receiving core right now. So I'd put it with him as an edge. And if I can get him that late, that's even better.
You're picking. You go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm picking. I'm looking at probably Michael Floyd here. Yeah, I think Michael Floyd. Kelvin Benjamin's a little ways down there. We got Michael Crabtree, but Michael Floyd really gave me a lot to like at the end of last season. So I think I'm gonna go Michael Floyd.
I think that's a great pick for right there. Looking at who's on the board right now, John Brown's right there. Yeah, I mean, no one else within maybe 10 picks of him. I don't think anyone else is going to come close to his fantasy points. So it's solid choice. Are you going to swing quarterback now?
You know what? Since Luck is so far down there, I'm going to see if I can't wait one more round.
All right. That's a gamble. Could pay off. I mean, there's Ben, Carson, Drew, Tom, Luck, Eli, Phillip Rivers. So there's some depth there. And then even down there, like we discussed, there's Derek Carr.
We got Andy Dalton way down there.
Right.
Yeah.
I could roll with that.
So it's okay if I miss. I'm thinking
your team
I'm looking
is now
at
on the clock.
Jeremy Hill,
right.
who he'll be my first bench running back. Whoever I choose now would be on my bench if I go wide receiver or running back. So I'm looking at Jeremy Hill and I'm looking at DeMarco Murray just because of the workload he could potentially get. But I'm also looking at Melvin Gordon, who I think could have so much better of a season this year than he did last year.
There were some runs last year. He broke some tackles, made some runs, and I was like, I got to Google this guy. Like, who is this guy? Like, he definitely has some flashes of beast.
Yeah, he does. He had actually a really high broken tackle percentage.
Right.
One of the best in the league. He just didn't get in the end zone. Number one, just because San Diego's line was basically Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to forgo that for now. I'm going to go Hill. Now, he didn't have a great year last year either in a lot of people's eyes. A lot of touchdowns towards the end of the season that made his numbers look a little better. Mm-hmm. But I think losing both Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu and having Tyler Eifert a little bit more on the mend to begin the season, I think we're going to see them really lean on Jeremy Hill to begin with. And if he gets going, he ended 2 years ago, he was a top 10 back, so it could be sitting on some value there.
I think that's a solid pick for that time in the draft.
Right, and if CJ ends up in a CJ Anderson ends up in a timeshare or something, I can also roll back to Jeremy Hill, and I won't be hurting that bad at flex. So,
yeah. Let's see. All right, so someone took Ben Roethlisberger. He's also, we got Ben Roethlisberger. So I'm looking at picking up another running back right here. I want to have my first bench running back, and while you were talking about him, I was hoping you wouldn't do anything with him. I have DeMarco Murray in my queue, and with who's on the board, I think DeMarco Murray is a pretty safe pick. I'm pretty high on Justin Forsett, but I think that's just I wouldn't pick him right now. But if you can get him pretty late, I think Justin Forsett's a solid pick. We'll get to that later on in the draft. Right now, this guy has 10 seconds left. He needs to draft.
Pushing that time limit.
All right.
I think that's great value too. That's a wide receiver 1 on the most prolific offense last year even without him. So and you just got him in round 6. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, you got pretty late.
So to recap round 4, looking at Randall Cobb, Dion Lewis, Jonathan Stewart, Latavius Murray to John, Eric Decker, Russell Wilson, Jeremy Maclin, T.Y. Hilton, Michael Floyd to me, and Jeremy Langford. And then the first few picks of round 5, excuse me. And then round 6, sorry, they kind of like switch around these labels on me on either side of the tool here. So round 6, we've got Greg Olsen, third tight end off the board, Jeremy Hill to me, Big Ben, Jay Ajayi. So that Jay Ajayi pick's way too rich for me now in that 6th round.
That's crazy.
With the signing of Varian Foster, that's too high.
We got Eifert just got picked up.
Yep, Eifert. So then we had Jay Ajayi, Kelvin Benjamin, Dante Moncrief, DeMarco Murray to John, and then Tyler Eifert, and we've got 2 picks left in the 6th round.
So those top tier tight ends are gone.
They are gone. As far as tight ends go, I'm kind of looking if I can snag. I doubt I'll get to this point because he's a little high up the list. But Ladarius Green, talked about him being on the Steelers' offense. Now he's going to be the number 1 tight end. Whereas past years he's been behind Antonio Gates, one of the greatest of all time on San Diego. So I think he'll have a great season. Kobe Fleener, I think, will have a really good season over in New Orleans this year. Mm-hmm. And Julius Thomas, I think, will be much better than he was last year. I think last year he's kind of had some nagging injuries. But so I'd be okay with any of those guys, especially if I can get like Kobe Fleener, maybe even like Zach Ertz late. Tight end's usually something I wait on until, some of the deeper, like 12 to 14 rounds.
Yeah, I'd definitely rather take some bench, some flex players than tight end this early.
Right.
The drop off, like if I picked a tight end and gave out some picks and people are picking John Brown or Emmanuel Sanders, I'm losing out on that. And then the gain that I get from picking a tight end this early relative to round 10 I don't get much net gain from it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So right now I'm picking. Someone just took Golden Tate and Frank Gore, Carson Palmer. All right. So now it's getting tricky. I'm starting to look at the bye weeks, trying to coordinate that. Mine are pretty spread out. Everyone has a different way of handling bye weeks. In years past, I've experimented, and last couple of years I've tried to like stack the bye weeks if I could, all on the same week or around the same week, and to be honest, just kind of wing it that week off waiver wires.
Interesting.
I got 4, 6, 10, 11, 8, 13 right now, so I'm going to go with that spread out bye week schedule. I'm going to start factoring that in. I don't really care about that first couple picks, but now that I have more than 5 players, I like to think about coordinating that. And I am looking at a flex right now, running back, wide receiver. John Brown's still up there, and I'm not too sure. I also like Emmanuel Sanders up there, Crabtree. Yeah, I already have DeMarco Murray. I'm definitely feeling a receiver. I don't know if I can pass up Emmanuel Sanders, man. And I have 7 seconds.
Yeah, that's a hard one to pass up.
I took John Brown.
John Brown.
Emmanuel
I think
Sanders,
he'll be good this year.
If Emmanuel Sanders had just a standard QB, just an average NFL QB, I would take Emmanuel Sanders. But since that QB question mark is there, I'm not going for that.
Right. Yeah, and I think the way Kubiak runs his offense, I think we'll see a lot more of the true Kubiak run-heavy offense.
That's a good point, like he did with Arian Foster.
Right. And we just had a couple auto picks that went through Tom Brady and Andrew Luck, so
your team
that's
is
a
now
little
on the
unfortunate.
clock.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
That's one thing about picking an auto pick. They always pick the guy you want because it's at the top of the list.
So now what are you looking at for quarterback? You're going to take quarterback right now, all right? Or are you going to wait?
You know what? Now I'm going to wait.
Now you might as well wait, yeah. Okay.
So I actually wasn't that prepared with a backup plan.
Got a minute two.
And I was looking at my bye weeks now that you mention it, and they're pretty spread out as well, so I don't have to worry too much about that. You know what? I think I'm gonna go Melvin Gordon.
Really?
Yeah, just to have that high upside guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So if I've got a lot of running back depth here, and I could potentially turn that into maybe some trade value. Once the season gets going, a couple weeks in, especially if I've got a bunch of guys that are doing really well all at once. So the guy after me chooses Justin Forsett, who you like. Ravens'
Your
offense was
team
kind
is
of
now on the clock.
decimated
Real bad
last year. First defense off the board, the Panthers, round 8. Top of round 8. So now I am going to go with, let's see. We got a couple of the rookie receivers coming up here. We've got Jordan Matthews up there. We've got a guy I really like, who I'm kind of high on, Kevin White as a sleeper, hanging out down there.
Yeah. I remember you talked about him last week. I'm pretty sure. Or at least we talked about it, maybe not on the podcast.
Right. This is a difficult decision.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go wide receiver just because I don't have a lot of those yet. I've got Cooper Floyd, and that's it. And I've gone running back heavy, so I'm going to go. I might just go Mr. Reliable there and stick with Sanders just because I know he'll have some production. And be a good kind of bye week replacement for me.
Okay. I think I can't fault you for that. I think that's a good pick. All right, so I got to pick really soon here. I was eating ice cream, so I wasn't ready.
I'll tell you right now that if those auto picks didn't happen, if that was some real people and they chose a couple other guys, I was about to go Tom Brady and Andrew Luck on the swing. Which I would have just loved because you've got potentially a top 3 quarterback to begin with and a guy that can come in and be a top 5, potentially afterwards, which will give my team a lot of flexibility because I would have, I've got 5 running backs that are top 20, 25-ish. I'd have 2 quarterbacks that are top 10 for sure. And so I'd have a lot of flexibility to try and trade especially if I want to upgrade like my wide receiver position or my tight end position down the road. It's kind of what I ended up having to do last year. I had 3 running backs get injured for the full year, and I ended up I had a lot of those bye weeks stack up, kind of like you said, which I didn't realize when I was doing the draft. And I had actually too many bye week guys where I couldn't fit them all on my bench. I would have to end up getting rid of a couple. So that didn't work out very well. So I actually ended up making a pretty ridiculous trade offer. I did like a 3-for-1 for Adrian Peterson to one of the guys that was struggling in the league, and gave him, I think it was Latavius Murray, Brandon Cooks, and Amir Abdullah for Adrian Peterson. And the only reason that really worked out is because he had pretty much the entire Seattle Seahawks receiving core as his receivers. So other than Doug Baldwin later on, he had the Tyler Lockett and Ricardo Lockett. And I was just like, you can't have this many guys from one team and be successful. So so we kind of both benefited from that, but I got a lot of flack from that in my league.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what's I'd actually be curious. What's your opinion on that trade?
I'm usually a fan of most of your trades. You and I tend to have the same outlook on fantasy. Sorry, I'm distracted right here. I see the Broncos defense just went, and someone picked Catanzaro. Someone just picked a kicker around that.
Yeah. So now we're kind of getting into
That's why I'm so distracted. I can't believe that.
We're getting into the point where people have left the draft and auto picks pick what you need on your starting lineup, and that is right now defenses and kickers.
Don't do that, guys.
So maybe let's just do a review of our teams real quick at this point. So right now I've got Eddie Lacy, Jamal Charles, and C.J. Anderson as my starting 3 running backs, with Amari Cooper and Michael Floyd as my receivers, and I've got Jeremy Hill, Melvin Gordon, and Emmanuel Sanders on my bench. Quarterbacks coming up, I'm looking at probably some upside guys. I think I'm definitely taking a double quarterback swing here.
Yeah, that's smart with your team.
I'm looking at so Tony Romo. He's been all right the past few years. Eli Manning, you got to be thinking either, he's been the kind of a top 12 guy in the past 5 to 10 years here, and
your team is now on the clock.
The question is, so Eldo Beckham plus Sterling Sharp gonna bring him to the 40 touchdown range?
I would, if I were you, I would be comfortable taking Eli or Phillip right here, and then on the swing taking Derek Carr. If I was picking in your position, that's what I would do. I'm so high on Derek Carr in Oakland offense, so
I could get the Derek to Amari Cooper connection here. Some people like doing the quarterback to receiver combo. I think I had Ben Roethlisberger to Antonio Brown last year, which was not bad. It does, if it's a bad team, it kind of marries you. So if the team does poorly, you do poorly. So I kind of like to spread it out a bit personally. I'm actually looking at Blake Bortles. Who I think I'm going to go for. I think he's got a little bit more upside. He did have the second most touchdowns in the league last year, although he did also have the second most interceptions. So I think if he can put it together a little more and kind of calm down, they're in a lot of kind of high stress, late game situations where they're playing catch up from a touchdown behind. But I think this year their defense will be much improved, and I think he's going to be able to kind of settle down and better that ratio a bit. So then on the swing, I'm actually going to reach down. I'm going to get Andy Dalton.
Whoa, way down, son.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Andy Dalton's kind of your Derek Carr.
He was good last year. He did lose some guys. I'm a little hesitant, but it is round 10 in our league, which I think is a fun way to do it. We've got round 10 and on. If you draft the player and you keep him on your roster for the entire year, which for our league is a little difficult because it's kind of a shallow bench. You actually get to keep one person from that criteria the next year for a 15th round penalty. And that is a pretty good little twist on the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love it.
And it's interesting to see kind of who we can get in that,
Your
that
team
swing.
Is now on the clock.
And actually thinking about that, if I were playing in that league, I probably would have wanted to switch these up. I probably should have gone Andy Dalton and then Blake Bortles, so I can, if Blake Bortles does do really well, I can have him for next year.
Oh, good. I wasn't thinking about that either. That's kind of an exception.
Right.
I'll be thinking of that for CBS, of course. But who you got here? You got a minute left.
Okay, so I'm looking at either Dalton or I can get my tight end.
I was about to say, you got Ladarius Green still there.
Ladarius Green is still there. Kobe Fleener's still there. Julius Thomas is still there. Man, I'm gonna go Ladarius Green. I think I can, because quarterback, we still got some high upside guys like Matt Ryan's way down there. We've still got Jameis Winston, Dalton, Mariota, Carr. So I'm gonna go with Ladarius.
All right. I know you've been pretty high on him all summer so far, and
yeah, he's kind of up towards the top of that kind of gigantic middle tier of tight end.
yeah, with Walker and everyone else, with Fleener, Walker,
yep,
Dwayne Allen even. All right.
So let's we'll let you take your last pick here in round 10, and let's summarize this mock draft up because we've got a little bit too many auto picks to really make this reasonable now.
Sure. So I'll leave out. I'm gonna take a quarterback right here. I think he's gonna have a monster season. I'm looking pretty NFC South heavy, not too heavy at all, really. But I'm taking Jameis Winston. Solid backup quarterback to Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
Yep, and then in that format where you can keep the player after round 10, you have a solid late round keeper there. And you wouldn't have to worry about a quarterback next year if you were able to keep him.
Right.
Which, I mean, in any year is awesome. So what do you think of your team, man? Why don't you run down your team and say maybe a pick you liked, maybe a pick you didn't like.
All right. I got Aaron Rodgers at QB. I got him in round 3. I'm pretty comfortable with that. I got NFL.com yelling in my ear real quick. I'm just going to draft someone. There we go. Okay. So I got Aaron Rodgers, round 3. Totally comfortable with that. Doug Martin, round 2. Being a Buccaneers fan, I have had a little... I don't know. I've lost a little faith in Doug Martin, but I've seen what he's capable of doing. So, I don't know. I'm okay with that pick right there. Considering who was there when I took him, he was the stronger running back. I also have Latavius Murray, picked him up pretty late, in my opinion, round 5. Solid pick. He's done good for me last year. So Julio Jones, first overall pick. Can't be mad at that. I'll take that. Jarvis Landry, he's my consistent. He's going to get a lot of looks. He's going to get solid points. You said, 6 touchdowns? Maybe I did take
6
him.
or 7.
I might have taken him a little early. I might have talked him up so much that I picked him a little. I reached for him a little bit. Then Delaney Walker, tight end. I mean, he had over 1,000 yards last year, so I'm cool with that. And I didn't have to go crazy early like the guys taking Eifert or Jordan Reed. DeMarco Murray, you and I both agree he's going to get some productivity. He's going to get some reps in. John Brown, Michael Crabtree. They're both kind of the same wide receiver, in my opinion. Like, they're going to get close to 1,000 yards, pretty high up there in touchdowns, not anything past 9 or 10. Jameis Winston, great backup quarterback. And then I just grabbed Allen Hurns because NFL is yelling in my ear. So, looking at your team, dude, I think you have a pretty solid team. I just don't know if I'd be as comfortable as you are with your quarterback situation. Although you have Derek Carr, but you have some good upside for sure.
Yeah, I think I would have been elated with this team if I hit that Tom Brady, Andrew Luck swing pick.
Yeah, that would have definitely changed things for your team.
But
that
I think
would have been monster.
The one thing that really makes me okay with the quarterbacks I ended up with, which is Derek Carr and Blake Bortles, is I think one of those two guys will hit, and I'll be able to play some matchups with them. And there's also guys on the waiver wire still that will be pick up, plug and play, like Matt Ryan, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Alex Smith has some good games. Even like Jay Cutler's way down there. Like Jay Cutler has, he's got Alshon Jeffrey and Kevin White. Those could be some, awesome waiver wire pickups down the road. And then we got guys like Tyrod Taylor and Matt Stafford, who are, decent, like, bye-week replacements. So I think I could, put it together. And if one of these two younger guys hits on my roster, then I'm looking pretty solid.
Cool.
The one thing I really like is that I have a lot of running back depth. So I can, if someone ends up in a committee or if someone gets injured, I've got plenty to throw at my lineup. And if everyone stays healthy, I got a lot of trade fodder. Your team, now I really enjoyed your starting lineup's great, and you've got so Jarvis Landry is really like the weakest, I'd say, at his like respective position for being like a WR2, like potentially has like the lowest floor. I would say not necessarily is the weakest, but has the lowest floor. But you've got guys like John Brown, Michael Crabtree, and Alan Hearns on your bench who could easily, step in. All right, so it looks like we had some technical difficulties there. We lost the sound, we lost John. But learn this time, do better next time. So this has been the Factor Fantasy Football Podcast. Thanks for joining us. We're going to do one of these a week. Hopefully we'll stick to Tuesdays or Wednesdays. This is available on SoundCloud and iTunes. We're sticking to the free platforms for now. If we keep doing this, we'll start doing the iTunes subscriptions later on. So yeah, subscribe to us, comment, let us know how we're doing, what we could do better, what you guys would like to hear. We always need new segment advice. You can find us at youngbw.github.io. That's github.io. Email us at factorfantasypod@gmail.com. We'd love to answer you guys' questions on the air. And you can also find me at BrentYoung23 and John at BucksFanJohn. That's Jon. All right. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.